What do you get when you combine extensive customization, action combat, a new and beautiful world with gnome butts? Lots of gnome butts, copious amounts of gnome butts even. Well, you get Vahrin's call, or Vahrin's call, or I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce it. The last part about gnome butts is probably more of a marketing gimmick than anything else, but I guess it worked because it caught my attention. Which probably says more about my juvenile sense of humor than anything else. Forsaken Realms Vahrin's Call is a high fantasy action RPG being made by Titan Roc, and it is being developed in Unreal Engine. The RPG is self-funded and has been in development for the past 5 years. And thankfully, yes, with everything in the news lately, it will not include any damn microtransactions. No microtransactions, which is like a stunning development at this point, I guess. Because day one DLC and all that shit is just like the norm now. Fast travel. You may have actually already seen Vahrin's Call, whether it was on a video on this channel where I talked about indie RPGs, or the fact that they are very, very active on social media, showing off some beautiful visuals and animations with, of course, their tongue-in-cheek humor. They even show a few different behind-the-scenes look at the game, like this awesome before and after that made me really wish we had a full time lapse. But we got to talk about what Vahrin's Call is and what it isn't, and what to kind of expect for this. Because whenever we are getting these new games to be excited about, it's kind of, I think, really important to temper expectations when necessary. Vahrin's Call doesn't seem like a game that will be pushing any boundaries or doing anything incredibly unique, and that is 100% okay. It's a semi-open world high fantasy RPG where you'll be a lone mercenary. No Karlachs or Shadowhearts here, but it'll be fully voiced, and one of the biggest draws for me has been seeing all the ways you can engage with combat. And while there will be no microtransactions, content DLCs may be used in the future according to website, but they will not have any additional charges to the game just to freaking play it. In a world of live service games that ask you to buy new outfits every week, it's refreshing. The action RPG is the first title for Titan Roc, and it seems like they're keeping their ambition in check, even going as far as to state on their website that it had originally begun as a co-op game, but they found that to be too ambitious, so they shifted to a single-player focus. I think at times it can be helpful to kind of have an idea of what it is you are capable of and make that thing to the best of your ability instead of trying to add everything all at once. Because once you build on this foundation of this game, you can then go on to other games. And having that realistic idea, I think, is a good way to go about it, especially when it is your very first game. Or maybe that's just because I get scared of things that are too ambitious, like why I didn't write a high fantasy book for my first book, because I was scared it would be shit. So I did a historical fantasy instead. So maybe it's a me thing. But that doesn't mean that the game is going to be small. The game will have tons of enemies, puzzles, loot, NPCs, and of course, dungeons. Perhaps one of the least splashy but still most interesting to me features though is their dynamic weather system, something they detailed on a post on December 1st of 2023. Something that originally wasn't even going to be in the game. Hell, a day-night cycle wasn't planned. But now we'll get everything from bright and sunny to torrential downpours, and while it can sometimes be hard to pull off well, weather in an RPG can be extremely immersive. I for one can't wait to enjoy some of the gently drifting snow in the game from the comfy and warmth of my office. But if weather isn't the big highlight for you, perhaps some of the work they've been doing on their weapon animations might be a little bit more tantalizing. There are currently 4 unique sets of weapons and abilities in the game: great sword abilities, great axe and hammer abilities, shield abilities, and more recently, dual wield abilities. The animations for these look freaking good. I think it's one of the things that has drawn me to the game so much. They look weighty with asynchronous timing, like this great sword swing, which starts fast, slows, then powers through for a satisfying finish. And with these, you'll have weapon abilities, 2 you get tied to each weapon at the beginning of the game that are powerful but costly skills you can use to decimate your foes. But that's just the beginning, as you'll be able to get new weapon abilities the same way you get new armor, magic, consumables, even weapons themselves, through exploration. I think this part alone would have made me wishlist Vahrin's Call on Steam, where they say verbatim, special attacks may come as part of a reward for finishing a side quest or for killing a certain enemy. You may discover some purely by adventuring off the beaten path, or by purchasing them in the shop. As you progress through the game and delve further into Vahrin's depths, you'll have the opportunity to unlock stronger abilities. When I think of RPGs, I generally think of them in 2 different camps. There's definitely overlap between them, but I think of the open world style RPG that heavily relies on exploration and the story-driven RPG that reads more like an incredible book. From what I've seen of Vahrin's Call, it seems to have a toe, maybe even a foot in the story-driven, and a whole ass leg in the open world style exploration. The world might only be semi-open, but exploration sounds like it's going to be very key to the enjoyment of the game. Exploration, customization, and just kind of trying things. To get a bit more information, I reached out to the team behind the game to ask some questions, and they were more than happy to answer. The game has been in development for years, and it really feels like a labor of love. They speak of the game with excitement and joy, and no small amount of pride. Just what I was hoping to hear. They're building a single-player RPG that's story-driven with a huge focus on freedom, allowing you to develop your character and customize into your ideal playstyle. The classless system they'll be using is key to that sense of adventure and discovery in the game, and it's something that they're angling for that allows you to adapt and grow as you journey through the game. When I spoke with them, they specifically highlighted the progress they made back in 2023, notably adding dual wielding in-game, which had originally been planned as a free post-launch DLC, but they pushed it in 2023 to get it done, something they've shared recently on Twitter, and it looks really freaking good. They've also been putting polishing touches on their fully voiced characters, something for me personally that can be very important to the engagement and emotion I feel with an RPG. After all, actors that put themselves into the characters is one of the best ways to make a connection, because then you're connecting with the writing, the game, and the actor who's putting on the performance. At least that's how I feel anyway.
I'll gut you where you stand if you even think about drawing that weapon of yours.
Okay, so maybe not that performance specifically, but they did have a lengthy post kind of explaining how they're doing their cinematic scenes with voice acting in mind. And it's all kind of detailing how all the cameras they're using and how they're adding in voice lines. These voiceovers aren't required for a good story in RPG, but they certainly help if done well. But speaking of story, what exactly is the story of Vahrin's Call? When a Kryak swarm invaded the great city of Vahrin, the combined order of humankind rallied the armies of the free cities and marched to their aid. For a time, under the leadership of King Aldesaim, they pushed deep into the depths, intent on driving out the attackers and pushing them back into the darkness from whence they came. But the victory was short-lived. The Kryaks were defeated, but at grave cost. The armies of the free cities were decimated, and the rallying call disbanded. Armies returned home, leaving Vahrin's Call to fend for itself. Now, only the most stalwart defenders remain, seeking to reclaim Vahrin. There is some intrigue here with the story. It sounds like after a great war, your city, or at the very least the title city, has been overrun. I'm curious to see where it leads. What was the greater threat being alluded to? How will your choices impact the story? It is an entirely original and handcrafted high fantasy RPG, and one that will surely pull from other games and other stories of all kinds, but it's still one that I'm really curious to see what this new name, this new company, this new team making this RPG will do to kind of lay their own claim to this genre that we all love, the RPG genre. And I couldn't be more excited to see what they have up their sleeves and under their gnome pants. It's probably gnomes. It's probably gnomes that moon you. But there's other stuff too. I haven't gotten to play Vahrin's Call yet. I don't know anyone who has, but I'm super excited for this game. I am constantly looking at the Steam page to see if we ever get a demo or anything like that. And you can go ahead and wishlist the game right now. And wish lists, especially for games like this, they really help a ton with getting the game up there on the Steam list. So if you're interested in this game, go ahead and wishlist it now. This game has been in beta since about May of 2023, so hopefully we'll get to see something a little bit soon and get to see a little bit more of a hands-on thing with this game, and I can't wait. If you want to see a little bit more about this game as well as some other indie RPGs that I'm really excited about coming up in the next couple years, check out this video right here where I go into some of my favorites that I've seen so far. My name is Edward Flynn, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.